Hey there, my name's Anthony Laval. I wanted to do this video today to show you how to create your own share of voice reports in Google Sheets using a combination of the SEMrush API and ChatGPT or something similar to create a script in Google AppScript in order to be able to generate the data needed for a share of voice report. You could do this for organic search results or paid research results. You could do this for a combination if you want. We're just going to be using the organic search results endpoint today. Now, the reason why share of voice reports are important are because of what you can see on screen here. Here are the top performers for some pet insurance keywords in the US market. And I've created a chart here just to kind of illustrate that. You can see that petinsurance.com is the top performer in this space. This is what we're going to be replicating. This is really nice to be able to do, especially if you're doing pitches for SEO or if you're producing reports for clients in the world of SEO, and you want to be able to show them exactly who are the top performers in a given space. It's report data that you could manually download from certain tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush every single time you need it. However, that becomes very cumbersome and time consuming, and it's much easier and nicer to create a script once, to create a sheet once, and be able to generate this insights whenever you want. So I'll be sharing each of these in the comments below this video so you can get access to the template and access to the links to the developer documentation for SEMrush, etc., etc. So this is the Google Sheet that simply outputs the results here that I've then pivoted to perform this analysis here. And I'll go into each of these in detail. In fact, what we'll go through in this video today are 6 main steps. What we're going to do is we're going to get an SEMrush API key. Now, this step I will leave up to you. You need a business account with SEMrush in order to be able to access their API. Or you could ask a friend. You know, if you've got access to a business account, you do have access to an API key. Whether or not people use their credits or not is an entirely different thing. But I'll leave that with you. Feel free to ask in the comments if you have any more questions with regards to that. I'm more than happy to answer them. But keep the API key safe. That's the key thing. Do not let that get into anybody else's hands, or they could start kind of stealing your credits and slash your money. So then we're going to set up the Google Sheet. So I'll show you how to do that in detail. We're going to get CTR data from Advanced Web Ranking, just a simple process of downloading a CSV so that we can then perform the analysis on the keyword data to understand, okay, right, what is the estimated amount of clicks that this particular URL is getting based on this search volume and the position that they rank in. We're going to test the API from SEMrush in Postman. I'll show you how to do that. We're going to create the script with ChatGPT. I'm not going to show you full details of how to do that, but I'll give you some insights about how you can prompt ChatGPT in the right way in order to be able to get the script that you need. We're going to test the script and then we're going to analyze the data. So the first one is get the SEMrush API key. Now I'll take you to the SEMrush developers documentation. If you've never used the SEMrush API and if you're keen to do that and you're keen to explore all the features and all the data that you can get from SEMrush with their API, then I highly recommend visiting developer.semrush.com and taking a look at the introductory documentation. Right now where we are is we are in the keyword reports and the organic results report here. There, for each of the API endpoints, there is the endpoint, the host, and then there's also a request example. This example here is one that I've just copied, and you can see here a response example output as well for this particular API endpoint. We can change that by amending some of these values here. So we could amend the type of columns that we get back, and we can amend the display date for this case in point. With regards to this particular example, we're going to be looping through a series of dates so that we get all of 2024's top 10 results for a keyword group in order to be able to give us the share of voice data that we want. Now I copied that API endpoint. I'm going to go into Postman. So Postman is a fantastic tool for testing APIs. When you create an account, you can then go in and create a brand new API endpoint, and then you can paste in the URL, if it is a URL based API, which SEMrush is, and then it gives you a series of key value pairs that you can change in order to be able to get different types of data from the API. Now I'm not going to run this directly in here because I would have to put in my API key and I want to keep that obfuscated, but ultimately you'd add your API key in here, you'd make changes to the data here, and then you can test by pressing send. For example, one change you can make is the display limit. 10 just gives you the top 10 results, 20 gives you the top 20 results, 100 gives you the top 100 results, etc. So there's lots of different ways to play around with it. The reason why we use Postman is because it makes it simple to test API endpoints and see the results that you get back. So that's the Postman piece. Now, I skipped ahead slightly. What we do want to also do is set up the Google Sheet. So the Google Sheet here I've set up to accommodate keywords in this sheet and dates in this sheet. Why have I done that? Well, it's just the way that I chose to manage how the script will interpret my data and produce the output. You don't have to do it like this. It doesn't have to be that keywords are in this sheet and dates are in this sheet. You could just add them all directly into the script itself. The script is going to live in AppScript, which is in the extensions drop down. It looks a little bit like this. This is my script that I generated with ChatGPT. So what I've done is this particular setup, keywords, dates, and it's just so that I can always change the dates if I want to. The reason why the date format's like that is because it's the middle of the month, 8-digit string, middle of the month with the 15th, and then this part is the month, and then this part is the year. And obviously I've done that for the dates that I want to select, which is all of 2024's dates. The keywords, I got this keyword data, just downloaded it directly from SEMrush. You could use an API to also get this data if you wanted to. You could also use another tool. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. You just got to get the search volume, keyword difficulty, CPC, if you want it, but really it's just about getting that search volume for doing this share of voice analysis. And I've only got 10 keywords in here, and that's to keep it brief. So that's kind of the sheet setup there. The CTR data from Advanced Web Ranking, so that looks a little bit like this. So Advanced Web Ranking's a fantastic company. They've got a free resource for Google Organic CTR. You can do it for any industry sector because click-through rates do change by sector. They analyze a lot of data to get that insight, so I downloaded that data and put it in my CTR sheet here. So I'm just trying to keep different types of data separate, which is a good idea for best practice for kind of table management. And then subsequently, testing the API in Postman we've already done. So the API endpoints is something that you will have to kind of get a little bit more familiar with over time. But ultimately, the SEMrush API is quite simple to work with. So it's a good idea just to play around with that in Postman. This is the API. These are in my script here. I have a series of variables, but then I also have this variable that contains my API endpoint, the URL, which has a series of key value pairs, type equals phrase organic, which is the Google organic results that we're trying to get. The key is my API key. My API key is kept stored in project settings, so that's secure and safe. It's a bit like an environment variable for those of you that understand a little bit about programming environments. The export columns are here, and it's just the position type, the domain, and the URL that ranks. The database is the United States in this particular example, and my display limit is 10. That's a little bit about the sheet. Obviously, the script does a lot more. It passes through, it makes sure to put data in the right place, but what it actually outputs in the end, I can show you. As I said, I'm not going to show you how to create the script with ChatGPT, but it's just a simple case of prompting it in the right way. Just saying, hey ChatGPT, I want to create this script that looks at a keyword sheet and gets all of the keywords from cell A2 right down to the bottom of A, so you could add in as many keywords as you wanted. Then I want to find, using the API endpoint, each of the dates, top 10 results, etc., etc., and it'll give you a script that's able to do that. You know, it might take a little bit of trial and error in order to be able to get it to do what you want, but it's obviously incredible that we live in a world where we can get AI to be able to generate scripts for us like this. So that's the way to generate your script in ChatGPT, and then we're going to test it. So I've already produced results because it takes a little while in order to be able to put the output here, but this is the results page here. So the results page here has our keywords, which are from the keywords sheet, the position, which is output from the API, the position type, which is just the organic result, the domain, then the actual URL that's ranking, the date that it was retrieved. Now I could amend the date to be different, but instead what I've done is I've used a helper formula here in order to be able to pass through this particular date for each of the cells. Now I've just dragged this formula down. So these are just a series of formulas that are either performing a manipulation, like with this column here, J, or they're doing a XLOOKUP. Now the XLOOKUP, you can see up here, is just pulling the data from the keyword sheet, the volume, the keyword difficulty in the CPC, and then I'm performing the estimated traffic analysis. Now, the estimated traffic analysis is done by simply looking at the position for the keyword and then finding it in the CTR and then giving back the CTR number. Now, that number is inflated by a multiple of 100, so we have to divide it by 100 in here, and then just ultimately multiply it by the search volume to get an estimated amount of traffic. So based on 200,000 searches ranking in first, petinsurance.com gets an estimated 40,000 or so clicks per month, and that's going to comprise the key part of our share of voice report. So it is finger in the air, it's rough obviously, but it's the best we've got, and it enables us to be able to get to this level of analysis. So once we take all these results and we've got them all in here, we can just insert a new pivot table, and it looks something like this. So this is a pivot table here on the left hand side that has each of our domains in the rows and our sum of estimated traffic in the values. And that shows us who the top players are in the pet insurance space in the United States with an estimated amount of traffic. And we can generate these insights in less than a minute or so. So petinsurance.com, ASP, Pets Best, NerdWallet, US News, we can visualize all of that in a chart like this simply by selecting the data points that we want and then inserting a chart. It could be a pie chart, or it could be a different type of chart. We could do, I could change it over here to be a bar chart or something like that, depending on what it is that you want. SOV for pet insurance in the USA in 2024. So a really nice way to be able to produce this output. So what have we done here today? Ultimately, we have gone through and acquired an SEMrush API key. We've set up the Google Sheet. We have got the CTR data from Advanced Web Ranking. We've tested the API in Postman just by copying that endpoint from the SEMrush developer documentation and pasting it into Postman in order to be able to just have a play with the types of results that we get back using the API key that we acquired previously. We created the script using ChatGPT or similar GPT tool. We tested the script with Google AppScript and we've analyzed the data. Now I realize that I've flown through that relatively quickly, but I do hope that this was useful in terms of being able to understand a little bit more about the SEMrush API, Google Sheets and Google AppScript, and how to create an app script even with no programming language knowledge using something like ChatGPT, getting the data into your Google Sheet, doing that on a cadence if you so wish. There are things such as triggers in AppScript that allows you to be able to set up these scripts to run on a regular basis if your code is set to accommodate that, and then ultimately pivoting the data that we get back and then analyzing the results. So I'll put all the links down in the comments. Well, ask any questions you have in the comments, but I'll put all the links below in this video. Feel free to let me know if you have any additional questions or follow-ups, but thank you so much for watching.